Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I came across a new C8 patent that was recently filed by GM, as well as some other information about the C8 mid-engine Corvette that I wanted to share with you. So as usual, the information I'm getting here has come from either the CorvetteBlogger.com or the MidEngineCorvetteForum.com, both of which I'll link down in the description below so you can check them out in more detail later. But this is definitely the sites you want to use for any information on the C8 Corvette because it is just loaded with great information. So our first bit of information is going to be the new patent that GM just filed, and it is a patent for power swinging doors. Now, this can go one of two ways. In the patent itself, if you look at the design here, it very clearly shows a door that is just opening like a normal door. So what that tells me is that how the Corvette now, you push that little black pad behind the door opening and that electronically releases the door lock. This door would probably be more like you press that button, it electronically releases it and electronically opens it. Now, this patent shows the door opening normally, which tells me it could possibly just have normally opening doors. A lot of people wanted it to have Lambo doors or some sort of gull wing or something that would look special for this kind of car. Now, this patent is literally just for a power swinging door option. So it doesn't necessarily mean for sure it won't have any kind of special opening doors, but this could be suggesting that it's not going to have that option. Now, at the same time, GM might not necessarily want to give everything away, and all they're really showing here is an option to have that door open electronically, which I've actually seen a lot of cars with Lambo-style doors, some of the higher, more exotic cars that have a power lifting option that opens them up Lambo-style. So it still could be that. And as with the spy shots we saw recently in Michigan, you can see the door here obviously opening up normally as well. I talked about this in a previous video as well, showing that just because the mule cars have normally opening doors does not mean that that would ever make it to production. So, like I said, there's nothing really specifically saying that it will or will not have any kind of special doors. But my guess is with this new patent, it's going to have something Lambo style if I had to guess, because it makes more sense to have those mechanically actuated to take any kind of pressure off of the owner to open the door manually. It's definitely an interesting idea considering if the door is a power swinging door and it opens normally, how would it know when it's about to hit something? So if you're parked in a semi-tight space and that door starts opening on its own, I'm sure there could be sensors built into it, but it seems like it would be unnecessary. Now, if they're just patenting this design for the motor to actually open the door, and in reality the door is going to open up, it makes much more sense because there's really not anything it could hit that way. So odds are good what we're looking at probably is just a patent for the motor or the mechanism that's going to open that door, but they didn't want to necessarily show too much off in the patent to give anything away. So for all you guys out there that want Lambo doors on this car or some sort of special style opening door, you still might get it. So the second topic I want to talk about is going to be the cost of the car. This is something that's been kind of beaten to death since we first saw this car, and a lot of people were assuming it's going to be priced way out of the Corvette league. I was one of them initially, but as we see additional leaks and more information coming out, it's starting to look more like the car is only going to be a slightly more expensive than the C7 equivalent model. I actually released a video about 2 months ago where Bob Lutz was talking about the C8 and comparing it to the C7, talking about how the cost was going to be pretty similar because they really can't price this out of the normal Corvette buyer's pocket. I'll link that video up at the top right here, but for the most part, the cost is going to be right around what we're paying now for the C7. Apparently, Bob Lutz recently said that it's going to be right around $5,000 more per model. So the current Z06 starts at around $80,000. The Z06 equivalent of the C8 would be around $85,000. So it's really not that much of a bump, but again, of course, all this are rumors, so you want to take all this with a grain of salt. The third topic I wanted to talk about has been talked about before in some detail. we all know at this point, one of the models of this car is going to likely be a hybrid, if not a full electric model. There is reports of GM working on a 48-volt system for a said hybrid or for a full electric car. Now, with the 48-volt, that typically tells me that it's probably going to be a hybrid. The 48-volt system gives basically enough power to handle all the new electronics and offers the ability for more performance and more fuel economy savings. Now, with the EPA recently cracking down on a bunch of different things, I think that's our most likely option here, is that this car is going to be a hybrid, just to kind of get the best of both worlds without having to have any issues with emissions. Now, this could also factor into why the car has been delayed 6 months due to electrical reasons. Could be GM literally trying to perfect this system, and that's their electrical reasoning. So without getting that system perfect, they weren't ready to even talk about releasing this car yet. Now, the 48-volt system that it looks like they could possibly be using is made by Delphi, which, of course, Delphi has a lot of parts that are made in conjunction with GM cars, so this could definitely be a reality. Now, on the CorvetteBlogger.com, they talk about this 48-volt system and a system similar that Audi is using, and they use it in conjunction with an electronically powered supercharger, which basically boosts power without the lag of an exhaust-driven turbo. Now, this is pretty interesting considering there was also a stat released whenever the new ZR1 first came out, that the supercharger it uses, because it's so massive, literally draws about 100 horsepower from the engine. So if you think about it, the ZR1 currently that has 755 horsepower could potentially have 855 if it didn't have to lose that 100 horsepower from the supercharger draw. This is just one of the many benefits from having an electrically powered supercharger. Now, the benefits from an entire 48-volt system also being hybrid with the electrically powered supercharger, I mean, we're easily talking about 1,000 at that point, which is right around what a lot of the rumors stated when this car was first seen, that one of the top models was going to have 1,000 horsepower. So, as I said before, every time we get a new leak or a little bit more information, everything starts fitting together. All the previous rumors and previous leaks, they all start to make more sense whenever things like this start falling into place. Another thing I wanted to talk about was its announcement date. A lot of different sites have pointed to the fact that it could possibly be announced this summer 2019. I actually put this in my previous video, which I'll link right up here to the top right, but I just wanted to touch on it again because there was another site that was reporting on the same information, and that was topspeed.com, which I'll put in the description down below as well. But this is again talking about the fact that we are likely to hear an announcement of sorts in the summer of 2019, which would be about right considering there was that 6-month delay due to electrical issues. So if we get an announcement in summer 2019, that would be pretty interesting. I would like to see that happen sooner the better. This car has really been hyped up, and I'm thinking it's about time we see the thing. And one more thing I found interesting was I found again on the mid-engine Corvette forum, there was a user that actually created 2 different images comparing the C8 measurements against the current C7 Z06. And basically what this image shows is the C8 lines are green while the C7s are red. What it's ultimately showing here, though, is a car that's very similar shape. Yes, of course, the mid-engine is going to have a slightly different shape due to where the engine's placed, but you could see here, especially with the doors, the red line showing where the Z06 door's at versus the C8 one being in green. The car has a very similar shape. Everything's just shifted forward a little bit to deal with that mid-engine. It's kind of an interesting image here. It really gives you a perspective of what that car is going to look like. Now, this rear one also kind of shows the same thing, that we're looking at a car that's going to have very similar measurements. The rear is going to be about 68 inches across, the rear fascia, just like it is for the current C7 Z06. The only difference in the measurement that I'm seeing, and it's not actually shown here, but people are just speculating that the C8 is going to sit slightly lower than the C7. From what I'm seeing, it looks like the C8 is going to be slightly lower, slightly longer, and slightly wider than the C7. And whenever I say slightly, we're literally talking about not even a full inch in either one of those directions. So it's going to be a very similar shaped car, very similar dimensions. I just thought that that image was pretty powerful. Really showing you exactly how it compares to the C7. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. If you liked what you heard, give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions based on the C8 or any comments, shoot them in the comment section down below. Subscribe if you haven't yet. I'll catch you guys in the next upload.